am going to ask you a series of questions now that I do always ask a lot of our guests,
Hmm.
but I would like Paul to answer the question first, and then if you wouldn't mind for the guides to answer the
Okay.
questions. The first one is actually I will get the guides to answer as well in a different way, but what are some of the biggest teachings that you think you've received from channeling this text?
Oh, the action of fear is to claim more fear. You can't be the light and hold another in darkness. I think those are the two big ones because I
Mm.
can do that every day. They're very simple and tangible.
I
Um,
love that one. You can't be the light and hold someone in darkness. Can you explain a bit
yeah.
about that? That one is beautiful.
Well, the guides say that what you put in darkness calls you to that darkness.
Mm.
So it's the idea of equivalency and vibrational accord. You imagine that you walk into a cave, and in that cave is the one person you never want to see again as long as you live. And now your opportunity and your challenge is to walk them out of the cave. And they say because you put them in that darkness, and they called you to the very darkness you put them in. So the whole point of forgiveness isn't about letting people off the hook. It's about self-liberation.
Mm.
Because if you want them in the darkness, you're going to join them. If you deny the divine in anyone, you've put them in darkness. Till you deny it in yourself just as well. And that's the whole problem we have with separation.
Yes.
So that's one way of understanding it.
And now for the guides, what do they think that Paul has learnt through their
Oh
teachings?
my good. I don't know if I can do this one today to trust himself a bit more. They were saying to trust himself a bit more, to become more authentic, to become more authentic in his expression, to stop denying his goodness, to stop denying his goodness, which has been a challenge for him, to understand others in love, to understand others in love, his ability to know them, and his ability to know them as worthy of love will indeed support him, and in realizing this for himself. This is a journey for him. This is a journey for him as a small self. As a small self, his true self knows quite well. His true self knows quite well why he has come, and what the work is before him, and what the work is before him. We are simply waiting. We are simply waiting for him to rely on that much more, for him to rely on that much more than he gives credence to, I'm just going to interrupt because I want to know what that means. Trust the divine self. Trust the divine self that is here as you, that is here as you, and allow the small self, and allow the small self to come along for the ride, to come along for the ride. Or another time, you will have a much better time. Okay,
That's
that's
nice. I feel like
that
you
was
already
nice.
knew that as well.
No, I
You
didn't. As a
didn't?
matter of fact,
I
I
felt
mean,
like
some
I
of it
knew
I
that.
knew. Some of it I knew, but
Mm.
it was actually more generous than I thought I was going to get
It's
from them
beautiful.
these days.
Really beautiful.
They said to me at one point, and as somebody asked the guides a question about me to me,
Mm.
and the guide said, "Well, my job was to hold the door open for everybody else." And I went, "Well, that
Oh,
just
okay.
stinks. That's not what I want."
Oh,
But then I realized later, because at the end of the Book of Freedom, they
yes.
opened the doorway to the upper room, and they said, "Paul, you get to come too," which was really kind of
Mm.
amazing for me to hear. But I realized then that the doorway was the books.
Yes.
That's what the doorway was. And so that is my job, to
Paul,
hold the
your job
door.
is so important and it's changed so many people's lives. So,
Mhm.
um, Paul, do you believe that praying works?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
And now for the
Um,
guides?
Of course and yes. Of course and yes, because prayer is always expression, but you must understand that prayer is always expression. You're in prayer every moment of the day. You're in prayer every moment of the day because you're in constant reality, because you are in consort to a reality that you are choosing to agree to if you bring God. If you bring God, even the smallest idea of God, even the smallest idea of God to what you see, you become a prayer. You become a prayer. You become the embodiment of the prayer. You become the embodiment of the prayer because you're in consort with God, because you're in consort with God, not in a small place, not in a small place with lower brow, with a lowered brow, but in fullness as you live your lives, as you live your lives, period.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Paul, do you believe some things in life are destined and some are choices?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't know what I think of destiny, but I think that we do come with things that we are choosing to learn through. And those may be relationships or certain events that we call to ourselves for the purpose of learning. And if you want to call that fate or destiny, that's okay. But I also get that we have free will.
Mm.
So we can say no. When I was studying energy healing many years ago, I wanted to run from the class every day. Every day I wanted to
Why?
leave. I was convinced I was the only person that didn't have the right to be there.
Mm.
Everybody else had the right to be there. It was like, who the hell was I, you know? And I went up to my teacher at the end of the weekend and I said, I really wanted to run away. Did I still get it? And she said, yeah, you got it, you know. And had I run away, which was my choice, I
Mm.
wouldn't be doing this now. Had I said,
Wow.
when if the guides had said, we have a book to write, if you take 2 weeks we'll do it, if I just said that's ridiculous, we wouldn't be talking either. I did say yes,
There's
so
a choice in
there is
everything.
choice, I believe.
Mm.
Yeah.
And do
Mhm.
you think that some things are destined?
I'm going to go to the guy. I think yes, no. I hear yes and no from the guides. Of course they are. Of course they are. But how you align to them, but how you align to them, maybe in different ways, maybe in very different ways. For example, you've come to learn love. You have come to learn love. You may come to learn a good relationship. You may come to learn it through a good relationship or a hellish one or a hellish one. You will get the lesson regardless. You will get the lesson regardless, depending on how you align. Depending on how you align, it's all an opportunity to learn. It's all an opportunity to learn. I'm just going to interrupt. So, is there such a thing as destiny? Yes and no. Yes and no. Again, through opportunity. Again, through opportunity. But how it presents itself. But how it presents itself is only one of many possibilities. Is only one of many possibilities. If you walk through the left door, not the right one. If you walk through the left door and not the right one, you may meet somebody differently. You may meet somebody differently on the other avenue, which may change your life, which may change your life. Period. 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 I'll say this, because I was thinking about this today, because there
Yeah.
was a little posting that went up online about how, you don't know what the ramifications of your choices are, and just smiling at a stranger may actually change the course of history. You don't know the trajectory of any choice you make.
Mm.
And I thought back to my own life, and when I was 25 and I was just quitting drinking, and somebody gave me a phone call out of the blue. I mean, I never, and told me what to do. And I was stunned that somebody cared enough to call. And because this person cared enough to call, some stranger, I actually did what he suggested. And I've never seen that man again as long as I've lived.
Really?
32 years. He may be dead. Completely changed the
Mm.
course of my life. And frankly, everybody's life that I've interacted with ever since. You
Wow.
understand? We don't know what these things are. We may
Mm.
never, we may never. We're here to teach each other. That's the key.
It is. It is. I feel the same. There are the choices that I've made in my life that have absolutely changed my life for the better. And you're so happy when that does happen. But as you mentioned, you know, if you walk to the right instead of the left, the lesson will still be learnt regardless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then the last question that I always ask everyone, and Paul, uh, what what is a life of greatness to you?
A life of greatness. I want to say a life of humility and joy. It's not about suffering. I don't know. It's funny. I could say it so many different things. A life of full expression. That's really it. Full expression, whatever way that means. That means not denying yourself, not denying the divine, not denying anybody else either. So, and you want to ask the question to the
Yes,
guides?
please.
Greatness is any life. A life of greatness is any life. All lives are great. All lives are great. They're expressed differently. They are expressed differently, but one is no better than the next. But one is no better than the next. You either makes it higher or lower. It's you that make things higher and lower. You learn here. You learn here. This is what you came for. This is what you came for. And sometimes you learn through challenge. And sometimes you learn through challenge. Sometimes you learn through love. Sometimes you learn through love. Sometimes you learn through fear, but you also learn, but you will still learn. No life is greater than the next. No life is greater than the next. This will support you both. This will support you both on your journeys. On your journeys, period. Period.
Oh, that is absolutely beautiful. Um, I just want to give my absolute love and gratitude to both you and to the
Mm.
guides because, as I said earlier, this all the books you have written are magnificent. And um, to anyone out there, I would 100% say, please, in some point, read all the books, if not just one, because it is unbelievably life changing. And I am so grateful to you for
Mm.
that. So thank you so much. I can't wait for your newest book.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It'll be out next year.